person who killed Officer Wallace and Matthew Tokuoka shot from this perspective from the second-story window of John Marvin's house. Where are the spent casings? If the person who killed those individuals shot them with a 7mm Browning rifle, why was there no gunpowder in the bore? It is not, nor should it be my place, from my perspective, to try to own the pain that people have gone through, that we have all been witness to day after day, that will probably never go away. Ms. Green, Ms. Tokuoka, Mr. Brower, Your Honor, Mr. Marvin. There are other people whose job it is to do the best they can with that pain. Nobody doubts, nobody questions, nor is an issue before any of you, that there are two people who are dead who should not be dead. The question before you is who did it, how they do it, why they do it. The state says this incident in 2009, that's proof. That's proof that Mr. Marvin had a bone to pick with these particular officers. It's proof. Mr. Marvin lived across the street from where this happened, across from the liquor store. We know that. Mr. Marvin was a hermit. We know that. This is the main road in Juneau. We know that. The officers went up and down that road every day, right? The suggestion is an ambush. An ambush to fulfill a grudge. If that's the case, why this day? Mr. Marvin, the incident happened a year ago. He'd been out of jail for 9 months. Why this day? So why was all the attention placed on Mr. Marvin? Because he fit the profile, right? He had become aloof. He was acting weird. Nobody saw him much anymore. He had the prior incident with the police. He, claimed stuff about having, royal immunity or something, Russian royal immunity. And he was a person who lived right there. So it all, intuitively made sense. But nobody saw Mr. Marvin shoot. Nobody saw somebody shoot from Mr. Marvin's house. And you didn't hear anything about Mr. Marvin saying, I shot somebody. So the state's case, in the most painfully, general terms, is circumstantial. The state says, these are the reasons that you should conclude beyond a reasonable doubt. These are the reasons you should conclude that you wouldn't hesitate at all to come to this conclusion.
Now, the state called Bob Shen as an expert in ballistics. He testified as an expert in ballistics, testified that the bullet he found, he didn't find it. The bullet that was found in Matt Tokuoka's chest came out of the same rifle that was found in John Marvin's house. This rifle. He also testified that he's been doing this for over 30 years. So I don't expect that you would think that in the course of his testimony, he would make you ballistics experts by showing you a picture saying, see, this is what I saw, this is what you saw. We don't need to call an expert. We can all take that picture. But he's the expert. He testified. He's testified in, I think he said, thousands of cases. And he's had his work looked at. He's had his work looked at by auditors in the lab. He's had his work looked at by other experts after he's looked at it. And he's no one's ever said that he was wrong. The only time that he remembers, And, you know, he wasn't bragging. Well, I mean, I didn't ask him, I said, are you bragging? But he did say he could not call, he could not make a call on a particular bullet fragment that came from a particular weapon because he didn't see enough. He said he was contradicted by another expert who said he could make the call. I asked him, well, did that make you change your conclusion? He said, no. Bob Schenk is an expert. He's a ballistics expert. He testified that the bullets that were found, the bullet that was found, tested for Matt Broker's chest, came from that rifle. That rifle came from John Marvin's house. I showed you this one in my, when you read these appellate decisions, they'll say his opening, closing statement, or his opening argument. And as Mr. Hedden said, he's right, I get to talk last. This is the shell casing that was found by Trooper Savlin. He testified that he found it in John Marvin's house. Where were the other three? I don't know. Mr. Marvin was in that house from the shooting until 9:30 Monday morning. A whole 2 nights went by, and a whole day and 2 nights went by. He was in that house. He was seen walking around that house. He was seen several times. He was seen running out of that house. But he told the troopers, well, I slept through the whole thing. Well, it's a long time to sleep. If you believe him, then you don't believe the people who said they saw him walking around the residence and running out the back of the residence.
In count 1, the state charges John Marvin Jr. with the crime of murder, with the murder of Anthony Wallace in the first degree. To prove that John Marvin Jr. committed this crime, the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt each of the following. 1, John Marvin Jr. intended to cause the death of another person, and 2, John Marvin Jr. caused the death of Anthony Wallace. In count 2, the state charges John Marvin Jr. with the crime of the murder of Matthew Tokuoka in the first degree. To prove that John Marvin Jr. committed this crime, the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt each of the following. 1, John Marvin Jr. intended to cause the death of another person, and 2, John Marvin Jr. caused the death of Matthew Tokuoka.
Right. Did you guys have to sign off on these anyway?
Right, sure.
Well, I understand that.
Before